Coming up on this week's episode of Flashtalk, Kent State women's basketball head coach Todd Starkey joins the show to talk about his team's recent success. Men's basketball head coach Rob Senderoff talks about what his team needs to do to get back in the win column. Kent State marketing director Ryan Paul talks about what's coming up in Kent State athletics in the next few weeks. And lastly, Kent State track and field coach Nathan Fanger talks about his team's first meet. All that and more coming up in a flash. Welcome into Flash Talk, joined by Kent State women's basketball head coach Todd Starkey. Coach, coming off a big 30-point win against Western Michigan, a big turnaround from a loss on Wednesday against Ball State. What was the key to a wire-to-wire victory?
Well, you talked about it in practice with our players. We didn't have to do extraordinary things. Mm-hmm. The quote we always use: "You don't have to do extraordinary things. You just have to do ordinary things extraordinarily well." Right? And so it's just about the discipline of playing really good basketball, connected. They did a great job of following through with the game plan. I thought defensively we were really rigid and forced them into tough shots. And then on the offensive end, I thought we did a great job of playing through the paint and really playing inside out and really being solid, taking care of the basketball, all the things that are just important for good basketball we did. And got a great result out of it. So was very pleased with it.
How has Jenna Batch become increasingly more comfortable? I believe her stat line was 19 points, 3 of 3 from 3, 5 rebounds, 6 assists.
You love coaching players who want to make up for their mistakes and want to learn as they go through the season. And Jenna struggled with some turnovers early in the year. Obviously, she was playing a little bit out of position with our injuries. And so just showing that stuff and like a player that wants to take accountability for their own stuff and then get better, like Jenna, she's just been a pleasure to coach for 4 years, and she's really focused on taking care of the basketball more. She's been doing a great job of assisting this year, but she's also trying to cut down on some careless turnovers that she's had. So an all-around performance, like you said, for her. Great to see her rebound the ball as well, shoot the ball well, but she just played in control and took what the other team was giving her instead of trying to force stuff. And when she's doing that, everybody around her is better as well.
We also saw Janae Tyler emerge against Western Michigan, 16 points. We saw flashes, no pun intended, of her doing that last year, specifically in the MAC tournament, in the NCAA tournament against Notre Dame. Seemed like she couldn't be stopped for a few minutes. How big is that?
I think a lot of people on the outside just expect you to pick up right where you left off and be this player that you've always been. It takes a minute to get back into game shape, but the rhythm of the game and kind of getting that flow down. Janae's starting to get that back, which is a great sign for us this time of year. When she plays within herself and we execute great post entries and execute our offense and get the ball into her, she typically finishes at a high rate. At that point, a team's got to adjust to her, and now other things open up. So it was really good to see some of that happen over the last 2 or 3 games for her.
Central Michigan game will be done by the time I'm talking to you, but Miami heading in on Saturday. I know you're specifically more focused on the Chippewas, but how big is this 2-game road trip?
This is a blue-collar week, right? This is a, bring your lunch pail and let's go to work kind of week. Get on the road to go to Central Michigan, a tough place to play against a much improved Central Michigan team. And then obviously, previewing for the Miami game down there, another tough road trip against once again, a much improved Miami team who's very rigid defensively. Both teams are really good trying to make you play sloppy and kind of muck up the game a little bit. And so we're going to have to be really focused on not only getting a road win, but our margin for error on the road goes down, so we have to make sure we're playing really solid basketball.
How do you try and find that rigidness defensively consistent game after game? Because it seemed like against Western, that was one of your best defensive performances.
They have to be dialed in, and we can't be a team that only plays rigid defense when the offensive end of the floor is going our way. It can't be situational. It has to be we're bought in on the defensive end, regardless of whether we just missed our last shot or whether we turn the ball over. We have to make up for mistakes, which will happen in every game. Yeah. And we just have to be solid on that end and make sure that we're not compromising things because things aren't going our way for a particular stretch in the game. Thought we've done that really well at times during the season. Other times not as well, and so that's the goal for us now, is to seek that consistency.
Was there a set goal you had necessarily through the first 11 saying, hey, if we can get out of the first 11 8-3 or 9-2, or is that not as much your perspective?
Maybe as a coach you kind of think about some of that stuff, you look at that, but that's certainly not the message to the team. Our message to the team is stay with what's right in front of you, this rep, this practice, this game, and if you can kind of stay in the weeds on that and stay focused on that, and not, my job is to have the 10,000-foot view and really look at the whole thing and how we're developing, outside of that, but communicating with the team, it's to keep them focused on what's right in front of them.
Coach, we look forward to seeing your team continue to have success.
Sounds good. Go Flashes.
When it comes to reaching your goals, having the right support can make all the difference. That's why we trust Green Lending, Kent State Athletics' exclusive mortgage partner, to help you achieve your home ownership dreams.
Just like on the court, everyone has a role to play. With the right teammates, any dream is possible. Green Lending is here to be that support to help you make those big moves in life.
Visit greenlending.com and let Green Lending help turn your dreams into reality.
Green Lending, helping Golden Flashes achieve their biggest dreams on and off the court.
Joined here in our Flashtalk studios by Kent State men's basketball head coach Rob Senderoff. Coach, moving into a big week going on the road, but your takeaways from your last couple of games this previous week?
Well, we've struggled at home, so hopefully playing on the road here this week will help us, refocus and regroup. We've got a tough stretch of games, and disappointed that we haven't been able to string together 40 minutes. We've played well in stretches. But our consistency, needs to get better. As we're getting into the grind of MAC play, we just need to play better for 40 minutes. Certainly need to play better defensively, and we've got to just get a little bit more consistent overall for us to meet, our internal expectations here. So. Looking forward to this week, looking forward to the challenges ahead as a group, and this is sort of what coaching is, trying to get yourself out of some of these tough times.
And how important is it knowing that you have veterans on the team that have been through the grind of MAC play, that have been through adversity during conference season?
We need those guys to be the ones that lead us out of this. So. That's what we're looking for is that leadership and their production on the court, their leadership in the locker room, in the huddles, their play to be consistent, doing the little things that it takes to win. Practice has been great. The attitude has been fantastic. No issues at all. So I'm really looking forward to and hopeful that we can get out of, those little funk that we're in. We've been struggling, and we've struggled a lot offensively throughout the season, but we've managed in the non-conference. We had tremendous success because our defense and rebounding had anchored our team. And in league play, we have been tremendously inconsistent in those areas. And the games that we have not defended or rebounded, we have not won. We're playing some really, really good offensive teams, and Miami of Ohio, certainly a tremendous offensive team. Toledo, Ohio, Akron, Bowling Green. I mean, you go on and on. Our league has some great offensive teams. So if we try to play, by outscoring teams, we're going to really struggle this year. So we have to understand who we are and play to our strengths. So we've worked on it in practice. We've seen it on film. We've seen it, statistically. We've seen where we're good, how we're good, why we're good, and we have to go out there and perform and execute and sort of be committed to the things that allow us to have success. So really excited about what lies ahead for this group.
And there were some positives, especially in the first 20 minutes in that Miami game. You're up 9 going into the break. So was it the defense and the rebounding that impressed you in those first 20 minutes that you guys look to get back to in the second half and on the road this week?
And a commitment to playing a certain style too. Like we were consistent at getting the ball inside. We got to the free throw line. We played with force and physicality. The threes were inside-out threes. Again, we didn't make a ton. We didn't make a ton in the second half of the game either, but we took care of the basketball. We defended consistently, make or miss, in terms of our shots. We defended. In the second half, we just didn't do that quite as consistently, and we allowed our offense or lack of offense to dictate how hard or how well we guarded. We didn't execute out of timeouts. We didn't execute, some of the way we need to. There were some plays that we were trying to execute that we didn't execute properly, and then it allowed breakdowns defensively. And again, give Miami a ton of credit because they played, they got down 9 and they stuck to it and stuck to it and stuck to it. And eventually we broke down. And we have some guys that have played in the NCAA tournament. We have a number of guys that have played in back-to-back conference championship games that know how to grind out wins. And in order to win, for us to win, we have to grind out wins. So looking forward to seeing how we do here, this week and moving forward throughout these upcoming weeks, and hoping that and feeling really positive that we will get back to what it takes to play our brand of basketball.
That's Kent State men's basketball head coach Rob Senderoff. Coach Sendy, thanks so much.
All right, thank you.
Golden Flashes fans, this is men's basketball coach Rob Senderoff. At Kent State, we're building champions both on and off the court. In order to keep our winning tradition on the court, we need your support of the Blue and Gold Collective. Now more than ever, we need you to be our sixth man.
Flash family, make sure to play the Blue and Gold Collective 50-50 raffle. And when you play, the Golden Flashes win.
Support the Blue and Gold Collective and help our Flashes soar.
Today, the world could use a little more understanding. Understanding nurtured by shared values. We come together at Kent State. Different dreams, different viewpoints, united by purpose. Preparing to make a difference in our divided world. Wherever you are in your life's journey, come learn with us. Begin at Kent State.
Joined on Flashtalk by Kent State Assistant AD for Marketing and Fan Engagement, Ryan Paul. Ryan, we appreciate you joining me. And you're a couple months into your new position now. How excited were you to take this position? I know Ohio's a home state for you.
Being from Toledo, it's nice to come back home. Being 2 hours is a blessing. But yeah, so I had 11 sports at Towson, now down to 3. So working with football, men's basketball, and baseball. So kind of actually have time to sit there, work together with the student workers and the interns, as well as Grace, and just kind of get a good plan of action.
Basketball is obviously such a huge sport for the men and the women, both of them in their conference tournament championship games. Each program with the conference tournament title making a trip to the big dance the last couple of years. So what has basketball season been like in the early going for you?
Yeah, basketball season's been good. We've had some great crowds. We had over 3,000 people at the Miami Whiteout game. So some of this promotions that the group has put together has really come to fruition. As a matter of fact, we actually have these Flash Legos that we'll be giving out on the 28th game against Bowling Green. So the first 500 fans will receive a Lego set. This is a replica of a potential of what can come. There's going to be a little bit of adjustments made to this. But yeah, shout out to Ethan for putting this together.
Yeah, our guy behind the camera, Ethan Lachinsky, is a huge Lego guy. He has a YouTube channel as well, so I know he's certainly excited about that one. So Lego night coming up, but what are some of the other promotions that you're excited about?
Yeah, so as well as Lego night, it's Coaches vs. Cancer on the 28th. The 29th will be Unity Day against Eastern Michigan for women's basketball, so we'll have some t-shirt giveaways there for that. We also have a halftime show, so Tyler's Amazing Balancing Act will be here the 28th and the 29th, so that'll be a halftime show. He'll be balancing like a ladder on his chin, that sort of stuff. And then we also have Zippy Weekend. So the 31st of January as well as the 1st of February will be our gold out. So we'll have pom-poms and gold T-shirts to pass out in the crowd. And then we're also honoring the Hall of Famers. So that'll be on the women's game on the 1st.
Against the school down the road, the gold out against Akron, that's such a big game. It's going to be sold out. So how, from a marketing perspective, do you try and prepare for that, knowing that every seat's going to be filled in the Mac
Yeah,
Center?
so we actually are going to be part of a NACMA takeover for that day, actually that weekend entirely. So we'll be putting together, the pom-poms will go out on every single seat before the men's game. We'll do the same thing in the lower bowl for the women's game. Really just making sure that we're fully staffed. We have 8 to 10 workers kind of working with us for those 2 games specifically, and just making sure that the students know, hey, this is Akron, this is Zippy Weekend, we need you out here, we need you loud.
And speaking of the student section, obviously there was a really good crowd against Miami. Everyone knows there's going to be a big crowd against the school down the road, but what are some of the efforts that you're putting forward to try and get that big student section every single game to support the men's and women's teams?
Yeah, definitely having the coaches go out in the union. So we had them go in the student center on Monday, kind of passing out bagels, just welcoming students back, making them feel like they're welcome to come out, just getting that action going. We've been passing out some fat heads to kind of have the students engage with the free throw competition that we have going on. So we have Hungry Howie's has done a promo with us. If the opposing team goes 0 for 2, everyone in attendance wins free Howie bread. So just trying to find those little unique and niche things to kind of get the people engaged and involved.
I think we're still waiting for everyone to get that free Howie bread. It's been close a couple of times, so stay tuned for that when the men and women are back inside the Mac Center. And lastly, Ryan, what are you excited about moving forward to the spring season? Obviously, I know we're in basketball season right now. It's winter sports, but I know once we get to baseball, lacrosse, track and field.
Yeah, so obviously hosting a couple of big Power 4 teams like Ohio State, Pitt, Oregon.
Yep.
So just kind of making sure that we have a good fan base there for those games to support the teams is important. We're going to be working on a couple of unique promotional items that are yet to come, but I think the one that will really be a hit is we're going to bring the Fearless Flash pennants out. So we'll have those a unique way of kind of taking a logo that we have and using it in a unique item. So a pennant is kind of one of the items that we decided to go with. Everyone with baseball affiliates pennants with baseball, and so that's kind of a unique one for Oregon specifically to kind of help boost the fan attendance.
We've mentioned basketball, Ryan, throughout the season. Obviously, that's the big sport during the winter season, but I know Kent State Gymnastics has a handful of home meets and some events that you wanted to talk about.
On the 2nd against Western, they'll be having their pink meet, so there'll be some rally towels they'll be giving out in support and recognition of breast cancer. So that's something that Anna's kind of put together for that meet specifically. We also have some fleece blankets that will be coming later down the road, as well as some Chick-fil-A sandwiches for the students.
Kent State Assistant Athletic Director for Marketing and Fan Engagement, Ryan Paul. Ryan, we appreciate you taking the time.
Appreciate it, Dane.
Coming up this week in Kent State Athletics, brought to you by KSU Tix. Kent State Wrestling hits the mat at Lock Haven for a dual meet at 6 p.m. on Friday. Also on Friday for a 7 p.m. tip, Kent State men's basketball travels to Athens, Ohio to face preseason favorite Ohio. On Saturday, Kent State women's basketball travels to Miami for a 1 p.m. tip. On Sunday, wrestling has a tri-meet at LIU and against Clarion in Brooklyn, New York. And then Kent State Gymnastics has a key dual MAC meet at Eastern Michigan for a 1 p.m. start. And finally on Tuesday, Kent State men's basketball returns to the MAC Center against Bowling Green for a 7 p.m. tip. As always, you can buy your tickets at ksutix.com. If you want more information on your favorite Flashes teams, visit kentstatesports.com or visit the Go Flashes app. We'll be back with more right after this.
For every just one more mile to your next ace on the court, when you have a sports-related injury, Cleveland Clinic is here. For our Cavaliers, our Guardians, and athletes at all levels, our sports medicine team helps keep you in the game. With expert diagnosis, personalized sports therapies, and game-changing surgeries. For every injury, for every athlete, for every care in the world. Cleveland Clinic.
Joined by Kent State head track and field coach Nathan Fanger. Coach, we appreciate you taking the time with us. And coming off your first indoor meet of the year for both the men's and women's track and field teams. We'll talk about some specific athletes in a moment, but just your general thoughts on both of your team's performances.
I thought we opened up well. There were some butterflies. Everybody's got those nervous feelings, start of the year, haven't competed in 8-9 months, but it was good to get everyone's feet wet, get on the track, get in the blocks, get in the rings, get on the runways. I think people were pretty confident about it.
Alex Milanda breaking the school triple jump record. He was second in the country after that jump. Just what was his mindset?
I thought he was prepared for 16 meters, somewhere along the line in the season. I didn't think necessarily 16:30 straight out of the gate was possible. I don't even think he thought it was possible, but I think he hit 16 meters, which was a big mind breaker for him early in that series. And once he kind of got over his goal of 16 meters, I think it was like, well, what can I do next? And it just happened. So, I mean, I'm super proud of the guy. He's worked really hard. I think definitely has solidified a spot in the NCAA championship for him off the descending order list. So I'm super happy.
You guys are trying to repeat from an indoor championship last year. Who are some of the other athletes or just as a team perspective what you guys need to do to try and repeat again?
Jaheim Jones, Donovan Crawford in the throws, Charles, some of those guys that are like top 3 in the conference just have to show up. They've got to be there. They've got to do what they need to do. For the men's side, we don't have a lot of depth because there's not a lot of schools in the track conference. So, I mean, I think the biggest goal is to try to be the top 3. Yeah. It's like for the women, you can kind of get some of those low-hanging fruits. You can get 7th, 8th, a 6th, and you could actually build your way up to win a championships. In the men's side, it's a little bit tougher. You've got to have your top studs hitting on all cylinders.
For the women, obviously, you guys got second at the indoor championships a season ago. How do you guys on that side try and raise it a bar higher? I know there's more teams involved there.
It's a day of type competition. You could put everything on paper. You could look really good going in, but you have a couple slip ups here and there, and you go from 100 to 99, and somebody goes from 99 to 102. So it's a super tight race on the women's side. You never know how it's going to really truly unfold. I think the key for us is staying healthy throughout the season. And being prepped on the day. It's always peaking at the right time. If you're peaking too early, and a lot of these teams do, I see a lot of them go out and they try to hit early meets. Some teams are like the 3rd meet in, and we're just opening up. So it's knowing when to open up, when to have your kids on the right track to do what they need to do.
What's the preparation process like going into indoor season, knowing that, all right, once you're done with indoor, you're usually transitioning right into the outdoor season?
Again, healthiness is the biggest key, right? It really is. If an athlete is not healthy, then they don't have a chance to succeed. I think the biggest thing is the load of volume early. Yeah. So if you're making sure we're getting a lot of throws in, a lot of jumps in, contacts, they're running their mileage that they need to. The preparation in the fall and in December really goes a long ways to get them ready for that February championships. As we get closer to the peaking period, you deload them. You take them out of the weight room a little bit, or you lessen some of the weights. You lessen some of the throws. You lessen their mileage. It peaks their body up so they're prepared when championship season comes.
Mentally, how do you prepare them so maybe they're not going too hard early in the season so they have all that juice when it comes for the big events?
That's always the game. The mentality of it is really the key aspect of it. For us as coaches, we keep them loaded. Mm-hmm. If they're a loaded athlete, then they don't throw or they don't run quite as well. And so they're always finding that little bit of frustration. You find that happy medium of, I can't be frustrated so much that I'm in the dumps, and I can't be so happy because I'm doing so well that I'm not prepared for the championship season. Yeah. So it's that fine line, and every athlete's a little bit different, and every coach takes that aspect a little bit differently. But it's kind of keeping them loaded a little bit heavier weights, a little bit more jumps, a little bit more volume than normal. And then as you try to peak that down or taper that down, that explosiveness of that athlete starts to come out.
Going all the way back when you're an athlete here and now being the head coach. So why has Kent State been such a special place?
It's just where I cut my teeth. It's where I grew up. As a kid, you're in college and you're kind of young, just competing, enjoying the atmosphere of what you're doing as an individual. Mm-hmm. And then, I wasn't planning on even being a throws coach. I was going to go back to Montana and do my student teaching. Yeah. But I enjoyed the process, and this has been a family, and it's become a family where I've just grown to appreciate and love the people around me.
Coach, we appreciate the time.
Thank you.
That'll do it for this week's episode of Flash Talk. Make sure you tune in next week for more Kent State athletics content. Special thanks to everyone at FanDuel Sports Network. For our entire GFTV studio, for Ethan Lachinsky, Justin Spots, I'm Dane Richardson saying good night and go Flashes.
As you know, Kent State Athletics, our basketball team has historically been a huge part of our athletic department. We have a winning tradition. We always bring a great game. But in today's day and age, the basketball game itself isn't going to entice the average fan. We really need to come over the top. We need to do these exciting things like they do in professional sports. And without sponsors or partners like Ken Ganley, we wouldn't be able to afford to do like tonight, the esports night with the Ken Ganley game room. Also being able to do the $10,000 putt at halftime that they're supporting. So those types of things help us advertise and get out into the community and maybe reach people who are not just the average basketball fan. They also help us out off the court. So many of our faculty, our staff, and our coaching know that they can go to Ken Ganley Chevrolet, get themselves a vehicle in a short amount of time without having to shop everywhere. They're so important to us on so many levels that we're just so grateful that they're a part of our family, and I don't know how we would live without them.